Hi guys. So today we're going to be working on lesson 8.4, fraction and whole number division. Three friends share 1/4 pound package of beads equally. What fraction of a pound of beads does each friend get? So this rectangle equals 1 pound of beads. It is divided into fourths. So 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. Each of those is a fourth. Now we need to divide each of these 4 parts into 3 equal parts because we have 3 friends. I'm going to draw a line and another line. So I have divided it into 3 equal parts. Each of the fourths, and I went the other direction so that we have a crisscross going on. You need to do the same to yours. The rectangle is now divided into 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 12 equal parts. That's our first dot. Second dot. When you divide 1/4 into 3 equal parts, you're finding 1 of 3 equal parts, or 1/3 of 1/4. Shade in 1/3 of 1/4. So 1/3, this is 1/4, and this is 1/3 out of it. The shaded part is 1 out of the 12 squares. So it is 1/12 of the rectangle. So each friend, third dot, each friend gets 1/12 of a pound of beads. And over there on the side, 1/4 divided by 3 is equal to 1/3 times 1/4, which is equal to 1/12. And I do not like that they put it in that order. You can definitely do it in that order. I do not like that they put it in that order because that is not the way that I'm going to be teaching you how to multiply fractions, how to divide by fractions later. But that's how the book has it at the moment, so that's what we're going to have right now. That's off to the side. You see how they flipped? It had been 1/4 divided by 3, and then they made it 1/3, but they put the 1/3 first. I don't like it there. I want it to stay where it was. Moving on. Second example of, give me a sec to draw all these rectangles. Okay, so now we have our 9 rectangles. Brad has 9 pounds of ground turkey to make turkey burgers for a picnic. How many 1/3 pound turkey burgers can he make? So first off, we have, okay, let's do our question off to the side first off. So we have 9, we're dividing it into 3 parts. So every 9 is going to become 3. Are we going to end up with more or less than 9 burgers? We're going to end up with more because we're dividing each one into parts. So we're going to end up with more. That's our first thing that we need to know. Second thing, divide each rectangle into thirds. So divide it into thirds, 2 lines into each of them to divide it all into thirds. Okay? Now, when you divide how many rectangles do we have? 9 rectangles into thirds, you are finding the number of thirds in 9 rectangles, or finding 9 groups of 1, 2, 3. 9 groups of 3. So there are 9 times 3, which is 27 thirds. Completing our number sentence, let me get a different color. 9 divided by 1/3 is equal to 9 times 3, which is 27. So Brad can make 27 1/3 burgers. Next page. All right, so let me draw this. Okay, so I have 1/4 divided by 2, so it's 1/4 divided by 2 is equal to 1/8. So 1/2 times 1/4 is equal to 1/8. Then I have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 divided by 1/2, so each split into 1/2 is equal to 8, because 4 times 2 is equal to 8. Number 1, look at example 1. Describe how the model shows dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. Okay. Number 1, if I split the whole into 2 parts, it is the same as multiplying by 1/2. Number 2, look at example B. Describe how the model shows that dividing by 1/2 is the same as multiplying by 2. If I divide each piece in half, I end up multiplying the number of pieces by 2. Pause it if you need to. I'm moving on. When you divide by whole numbers greater than 1, the quotient is always less than the dividend. For example, the quotient of 6 divided by 2 is less than 6. The quotient of 2 divided by 3 is less than 2. Learn below how the quotient compares to the dividend when you divide by fractions and whole numbers. So if I divide 1/2 into 3 parts, or I divide each of 3 into 2 parts, which of them will be greater than the dividend? Obviously, 3 divided by 1/2, because I am splitting the 3 into 2 parts each. So if I'm splitting 3 into 2 parts each, I end up with 6 parts total. Whereas if I split the half into 3 parts each, I'm going to end up with 1/6 total. So when I divide a fraction by a whole number greater than 1, the quotient is smaller or less than the dividend. When I divide a whole number by a fraction less than 1, the quotient is larger or greater than the dividend. Yeah, we got plenty of time. Okay, on number 1, we are looking at the model that they have there. I'm not redrawing it. We don't actually need it. 2 divided by 1/4 is the same as 2 times 4, which is equal to 8. That's number 1. Number 2, 1/9 divided by 3 is the same as 1/9 times 1/3, which is equal to 1/27. Now, let me explain what I'm doing. I am flipping the second number. So if it used to have a 1 on top, it doesn't anymore. If it used to be a whole number, it now has a 1 on top. The second number flips every single time. And this is why I was getting angry on the first page when they put the second number before the first number, because then it messes you up when you're trying to remember the rules. And I don't like it when the book messes us up when we're trying to remember the rules. It makes me upset. Number 3, 7 divided by 1/2. 7 stays the same. Then we go times. There's a 1 on the top, so we're going to flip it over and make it a whole number, which is 7 times 2, which is 14. Number 4, 1/3 divided by 4. 1/3 stays the same. Division becomes multiplication. That's a whole number, so we're going to flip it and end up with a 1/4. 1/3 times 1/4 is 1/3 times 4, which is 12. 1/12. Number 5, 1/4 divided by 12. 1/4 stays the same. Division becomes multiplication. 12, we flip it, so it ends up with a 1 on the top and a 12 on the bottom. And then I have 1 and 4 times 12. 2 times 4, sorry, I moved over. 2 times 4 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4, so 48. And it ends up being 1/48. Number 6. 6 divided by 1/5. 6 stays the same. The division becomes a multiplication sign. 1/5, flip it. So now it's just a 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Number 7. 2/3 divided by 3. 2/3 stays the same. Division becomes multiplication. 3, flip it. 1/3. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 3 is 9. 2/9. Number 8. Describe how this model shows dividing by 2 is the same as finding a half of a fourth. Okay. If I multiply 1/2 times 1/4, I end up with 1/8, which is the same as 1/4 divided by 2. Okay? There we go. Number 9. Mrs. Lee has 12 pounds of modeling clay. She divides the clay into half-pound blocks. If Mrs. Leah sets aside 6 of these blocks and gives the rest to the students in her art class, how many half-pound blocks of clay does Mrs. Leah give to her art class? Okay, I'm going to need some room to draw, so pause it if you need to. I'm moving on to a new sheet of paper. Let's draw. I have 12 pounds of modeling clay. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm dividing them into half-pound chunks. So everything is getting divided up in half. If I set aside 6 of the blocks. Okay, so 6 of the blocks would be 6 of the halves. So this is set aside. We're not doing anything with those ones. They're just there. Those are 6 half blocks. Giving the rest to the students in her class. How many half-pound blocks does Mrs. Leah give to her class? Oh, okay then. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Next page, 374. Okay. The slowest mammal is the three-toed sloth. The top speed of the three-toed sloth on the ground is about 1/4 of a foot per second. Top speed of a giant tortoise on the ground is about 1/3 foot per second. How much longer would it take a three-toed sloth than a giant tortoise to travel 10 feet on the ground? What do I need to find? A, how, it's literally our question. How much longer does it take? And yes, I realize I've changed the phrasing a bit. A three-toed sloth than a giant tortoise to travel 10 feet. Letter B. What operation will you use to solve this problem? Well, we will probably divide because I want to know. All right, let me think about this one. If we weren't working with fractions, if I was saying you went 2 miles per hour and he went 3 miles per hour, how long would it take? So I would have to figure out how long it would take you to get the 10 miles. So I would do 10 divided by the 2, which would give me 5. So it would take you 5 hours to get there. Okay. So here we have, it would be division. It would still be division. If you're ever wondering what you're supposed to do with your fractions, ask yourself what you would do if they were whole numbers. And then you'll end up with your answer because it's always the same operation. So divide. That's what we're going to end up having to do for letter B. Letter C, show the steps that you would use. Okay, so I end up with 10 feet divided by a 1/3 foot per second, no, a 1/4 foot per second, and 10 feet divided by a 1/3 foot per second. Remember, this is the three-toed sloth and this is the giant tortoise, okay? So, allergies. 10, that becomes multiplied. We flip that, so it becomes a 4. 10 times 4 becomes 40. Down here, 10, that becomes multiplied. We flip it. 10 times 3 is 30. So it would take the three-toed sloth 40 seconds and the giant tortoise 30 seconds. A three-toed sloth would travel 10 feet in, so D, would travel 10 feet in 40 seconds. A giant tortoise would travel 10 feet in 30 seconds. Since 40 minus 30 equals 10, it would take a three-toed sloth 10 seconds longer to travel that 10 feet. Okay? Good deal. So yeah, that's the entire problem for 10. Jamie has a striped fabric that is number 11. Jamie has a striped fabric that is 5 yards long and solid fabric that is 4 yards long. She cuts the striped fabric into equal pieces that are 1/4 yard long and the solid fabric into equal pieces that are 1/3 yard long. How many more pieces of striped fabric would she have than pieces of solid fabric? Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to, I don't think I need a whole nother sheet of paper, so I am just going to do this, and we're going to do number 11 over here, okay? We should be just fine. That should be more than enough space to do number 11. So I ended up with 5 yards of solid fabric and, no, 5 yards of striped fabric, and striped fabric are going to be in 1/4 yard pieces. So 5 divided by 1/4, okay? Then I have 4 yards of solid fabric divided into 1/3 yard pieces. So I have my 5, change the division to multiply, flip the 1/4, so it's now 4. 5 times 4 is 20. I have 4, change the division to multiply, flip the 1/3, making it a 3. 4 times 3 is 12. And then I need to find the difference. So 20 minus 12. I cannot do 0 minus 2. I have to borrow. 10 minus 2 is 8. So there are 8 pieces more of the striped fabric than of the solid fabric. And all you need to do is write down literally what we did. I divided 5 by 1/4 and found that it was 20. I divided 4 by 1/3 and found that it was 12. I subtracted 12 from 20 and found that it was 8. So there are 8 more pieces of striped fabric than solid fabric. Okay? All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.